think about someone you work with every day. Maybe you share an office, a project, or even just a Zoom screen. You probably have a sense of whether you trust them. But here's the question. Is that trust really about them, or is it actually about you? Now, I think we often assume that trust depends on how honest, capable, or even kind the other person is. But a new study suggests that actually the real driver might be a little bit closer to home. Researchers from the University of Florida asked over 1,000 people to reflect on how much they trusted their co-workers. They measured classic predictors of trust, like the workers' ability, integrity, and benevolence, but they also added a twist. They measured how much contextual information that each person felt they had about the workplace. In other words, how in the know were they about what was going on in the organisation and what was going on around them. Then they used structural equation modelling, a fancy statistical method, to untangle who mattered more for trust, the person being trusted or the one doing the trusting. And in the research across two large studies, one in the US and one in the UK, the results were clear. The truster, the person deciding whether to trust, mattered far more. People who felt well informed about their workplace, who had a good sense of the context they worked in, were much more likely to trust their co-workers. In fact, access to information explained 3 times more variation in trust than the co-workers, the person being trusted, own traits. Feeling in the dark was a strong predictor of mistrust, and far more so than anyone's bad behaviour. So, trust in the workplace isn't mainly about how trustworthy others are. It's actually about how confident you feel that you understand what's going on. When people know what's happening, who's doing what, why, what's the strategic direction, how's it all working, they don't need blind faith. Their trust becomes grounded in the knowledge of their position and the activities going on in their workplace. So if you're a leader or a manager and you want to build trust at work, you don't need to start with pep talks about teamwork. You need to start with information. Share context, explain decisions, keep people in the loop. Because when people know what's happening, they stop guessing about motives. And that's where trust starts to grow.